From kitchen to airport, the cooking oil used in your favorite deep-fried dish could potentially power your next flight. This is sustainable aviation fuel, better known as SAF, a renewable jet fuel that is made from non-petroleum sources. There are no fancy ingredients here.
There is what we need is, of course, very big amount of feedstock.
Feedstock is basically unwanted waste or residue from different production and manufacturing processes. Ecoceres is a Hong Kong-based company that makes biofuels. The animal fat you see on this barrel is just one type of feedstock used.
And feedstock we are sourcing from, of course, Malaysia, Southeast Asia, then China. And we have a different kind of feedstock. It's not only the used cooking oil, it's used cooking oil. It's palm oil effluent waste. There is a brown grease. There is a food waste. There is a fish fat. There is a animal fat, and more to come.
Using SAFs can reduce up to 80% of carbon dioxide emissions. A valuable reduction, given that analysts project carbon dioxide emissions from the aviation sector to more than double by 2050.
The carbon emission that is emitted from the engine would account for more than 95% of the overall airport's emission. That is why it's very important for airports to actually facilitate the SAF use at their airport and the engine, because SAF is the main focus or the main solution for now, at least for this decade, to ensure that the carbon emission from the engine is as low as possible.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is pushing for net zero emissions by 2050 in order to keep global warming under control. And SAFs have evolved to that end.
It's all started out in the more advanced stage or region, Europe and US. But in Asia Pacific, we have the more advanced ones in Singapore, Japan, and Malaysia. So it's all usually started out the individual state pledge and all start making mandates.
The mandate is a legal obligation specifying the amount of renewables as a percentage of total jet fuel consumption. China is the world's second largest civil aerospace and aviation services market after the US, but as a latecomer to the renewable energy sector, it has yet to implement a SAF blending mandate. However, the country is now accelerating its efforts. The government has recently, for the first time, announced the establishment of a national low-carbon transformation fund that could see it prioritize investments in the hydrogen energy and green fuel sectors. To be sure, SAFs can be 3 to 5 times more expensive than conventional jet fuels, but industry insiders are still seeing takers.
It's a mandate-driven, but you have always, the voluntary. And let's say example, and it's because it's not any secret. So, for example, DHL, their target is to use 30% sustainable aviation fuel and renewable diesel. So they have put that in the target. There's also other cargo companies are doing the same. Even the Chinese cargo companies are also doing that because they have a big clients, Amazon and other, and they want also to reduce, and the end users want to reduce. So it's a twofold. You need to have also the mandates, the good push from the government policies, but then you have this voluntary market.
The aviation industry is expected to take off in the next 5 years at an annual rate of around 7%. Growth will be fastest here in the Asia Pacific. And the unwanted, often overlooked waste that most people may not pay attention to could play a key role in ensuring flying remains sustainable.
Well, Jiang Lam, Associate Director, Biofuels Analytics at S&P Global Energy, joins us for more now. Jiang, I guess in the context of today, given the Iran war and the fluctuating oil prices, the question is how much does SAF as a lower carbon alternative could allow firms to kind of shield themselves from those fluctuating oil prices?
Well, thanks, Liz, for having, Elizabeth, for having me on this morning. Oh, that's a bit of a challenge, right? Because as the piece previously stated, that SAF tends to be 3 to 5 times more expensive. So while the fluctuations might not be as significant as we see in the jet fuel market, it's still going to be more expensive in general, and that's a function basically of the price of your used cooking oil and a function of your vegetable oils. So as a tool to buffer the industry against these price fluctuations, it's going to be significantly more challenging because it's more expensive in general.
Yeah, so there's the issue of affordability. There's also the issue of scalability. What else is hampering this transition?
It's the scale, right? Again, as the piece previously stated, that it's a problem with feedstocks. To give you perspective, your regular SAF plant is about 1/10 the size of your regular refinery, and that's a small refinery, right? So if a regular refinery is 200,000 barrels a day, which is small by Singaporean standards, a biorefinery in general caps out at about maybe 20,000, 30,000 barrels a day at the very most. So first is the investments into the refineries. The second is, again, the feedstock supply. So we are looking at Singapore, for example, has almost 200,000 barrels a day of jet fuel demand. But the production capacity coming out of Neste's plant, for example, is about 12 to 15,000 barrels a day, 20,000 barrels a day if you include both plants. So that alone, if Singapore were to have a 10% blend mandate, would utilize 100% of Neste's production capacity. And that's just Singapore, right? We're talking about China, Malaysia, Asia in general. Investments have been not quite at pace in order to really meet these really aggressive blend decarbonization targets.
Yeah, so you talk about the investments not really keeping pace with, these goals that they have. China, for one, obviously transitioning to becoming a major production hub of SAF. That's kind of indicated in its 15th five-year plan last week as well. So we just drill down into China's production, right? A lot of it relies on waste oils, used cooking oil. How sustainable and scalable is this, do you think? And what is the risk also of creating, I suppose, competition with its own biodiesel producers in the country?
For China, I think they have a very clear line of sight and sort of direction is where they want to go at the moment. Yes, they have mentioned that there will be they're looking into SAF in order to decarbonize the aviation sector. But I think they are, as the news piece prior, looking at other pathways. If we look into they are using, for example, looking into producing more advanced SAF, which is power to liquids or gasification of municipal solid waste through Fischer Tropsch. That is going to, not really circumvent, but leapfrog technology-wise, so that they don't have to look at used cooking oil, which a lot of the existing technologies use. One alternative as well is using alcohol, ethanol to jet, but that too is comes with greater cost considerations. So I think one thing that China has for it is that its ability to scale renewable energies in order to tackle these more advanced, more expensive, more niche technologies.
Right. And, China really is regarded as the producer of the world. How significant could its, as say, a SAF industry become globally over the next decade, say, especially when you compare that with the US and the EU as well?
I think they are positioned in order to be a significant producer, supply of the global supply of SAF. Again, the challenge is going to be in the short term because of cost considerations and because of the need for UCO and other waste-based feedstocks. The government is metering out their export quotas for SAF, right? So I think to date, they have about 1.3 and 1.4 million tons of export quotas that have been allocated. And that comes in line with how much UCO they do have realistically, and in order to both blend for use for their biodiesel mandates and for their SAF, and also to export as renewable diesel to Europe. In comparison with Europe and the United States, I think Europe is is more aggressive in its decarbonization targets, and it is looking to use these more nascent technologies like Fischer-Tropsch gasification, municipal solid waste, in order to produce the SAF. The challenge there again is with rising energy costs, because you need energy in order to produce this. It's sort of put a hold on investments there. For the US, it is going to be more of a carrot approach, where they do have tax credits in order to make it more viable, and they are looking to scale, to ramp that up in the future. But right now, as the 45Z credit and the One Big Beautiful Act have laid out, it's not in the cards for them at the moment.